Beer barrel time, the name's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but it just represents the beer we brew, the time in which it ages in the barrels in which we select. The flavors from this beer are deep, complex, they're fun, they're exciting. They're chocolate, they're coffee, they're caramels, there's mocha, there's coconut. There's all kinds of cool flavors in this beer, but all of them were just generated by the recipes in which we write, the barrels which we select and the amount of time in which we let it rest to develop. The reason this beer came about was I wanted to focus on making some monster barrel-aged stouts in our way, if you will, when we first started. And Beer Barrel Time was our choice on that, a beer that has no adjuncts. I wanted to showcase our abilities to make a great base beer, a beer before we added adjuncts, a beer that doesn't need vanilla or cocoa or coconut or all these other adjuncts, a beer that can just stand by itself first and foremost. And we started releasing this in 2017 now. So this is the 9th release of this beautiful beer. For the 2025 release, every barrel selected was Willett. We don't go in knowing that. The brewers and myself sit here in June or July every year. We pull all the barrels that are mature and we do a blind tasting of everything, take notes, and then start blending from there. It just so happened that this year, everything we selected was from Willett. We love their barrels. You'll hear me talk about it all the time. We write recipes that fit their barrels. So Beer Barrel Time is all Willett this year. It has 3 recipes in it this year: OWK, Vibes, and Omega. You've heard about OWK and Vibes probably before from us. Omega is the recipe that was found in Derivation Blend 1, and then also One Candles. One Candles had this beautiful German chocolate cake note without having any adjuncts in it. So we've kind of brought that recipe back into our barrel stock for blending. The beer rests in the barrels this year for 16 to 25 months. 90% of the beer was 21 to 25 months. So if you look at how we do, that's kind of an insight in our blending. Most of it was an older component. And then the last 10% we blended in was just a little bit of some younger beer, if you will, the 16 month, which still isn't that young, but for us it is. And that gave it that last little barrel pop that we needed, as the younger beer will tend to have a little bit more barrel presence, if you will, a little spicier, a little hotter. And we wanted to add that to kind of pull it all together. We blend all of our stouts like you would a sour beer. None of the barrels in here say Beer Barrel Time. They all have separate recipes on there. And we go into this room just looking for how we can make this by blending any last perfect component back here to make this beer. In our BBT package this year is, why not add our other BBT to it, our rye BBT. So it is our non-adjuncted imperial stout, but in which all of the recipes were aged in exclusively rye barrels. This kind of exemplifies and showcases how important the barrel is to our beers. The barrel is an extra ingredient that many people forget about. That barrel is so important to make these beers what they are, that Beer Barrel Time, which is all Willett Family Estate bourbon, tastes completely different than rye BBT, which this year happens to be all Willett rye. Once again, blended the exact same way we do Beer Barrel Time. We sit down and taste the barrels. We love using a bunch of rye producers because rye adds such a unique characteristic to the beer, many of which you guys have had rye BBT before. You understand how differently it tastes compared to the regular BBT. So the recipes in rye BBT this year were Vibes and OWK, very common. Really a lot of oats in those, very heavy, high protein content, viscous, huge mouthfeel. And then the third component of this one this year was actually Generational. Generational is a recipe we wrote with our friends at Half Acre years ago. It's a beautiful recipe. It's a recipe we continue to brew for our barrel stock. It doesn't have as much oats in it. And so with that being said, it has a little bit of a lighter mouthfeel, even though gravity points may be the same. I can get too technical on that. It just has a little bit of a lighter mouthfeel, and that lighter mouthfeel lets the rye barrels really, really shine. This beer was aged in rye barrels for 16 to 25 months. You'll find that more of this sits on the lower end, if you will, around 20 months, because the rye is a fresh, potent, vibrant, aromatic barrel that we like to showcase in that way. That's just what works for us when we blend this beer. Beer Barrel Time, rye BBT, Tete de Cuvée in the same package is pretty much the epitome of what Side Project is. We wanted to be able to share our whole brewery in one package with you for an understanding of who we are, where we've been and where we've come from, and what has made us who we are. So Tete de Cuvée is a champagne term. I do have a love of wine. It's the head of your blend, if you will. A lot of Tete de Cuvées are the high-end brands like Dom and stuff. It's the best of your best. Tete is blended to be that. We have a barrel stock of Saisons, Missouri Saisons, which we take the best barrels, in our opinion, and blend them in the best way possible to create this beer. Taking note on maybe one of the more exciting Saisons we've released in a while, Oud Fermier Grand Cru, I wanted to use some of that heart into this, if you will. For Tête de Cuvée Vintage 2024, it is a blend of 1, 2, and 3-year-old barrel-aged saisons. This is the first time we've gone that old in this beer. But we did blend in a little bit of a younger saison at the very end to make sure it bottle conditions quickly and healthily, and maybe staves off a little bit of those oxidative notes that you would find in Grand Cru. So this still has a fresh, vibrant Tête note with the deep complexities that cannot be replicated without time. It is vintage 2024 because we vintage dated as the youngest component in the blend. So the youngest piece of this went into oak in 2024 before it became part of the blend. So that's why it's not a vintage 2025, if you will. Vintage dated kind of like a wine. Tête is our pinnacle Missouri Saison. It's the hardest one for us to produce. It's the biggest blending day for us for a Saison. And it has done us very, very well over the many years which we've produced this beer. I'm really happy to include it in this package. It's the best package we've ever produced. And I think this just showcases who we are this fall for all of you. Really excited for the 2025 release of Beer All Time. It's 9th year. It's always an amazing weekend. The pickups always start on Black Friday. It's a perfect time to come out, have a massive Imperial Stout, share your weekend with us, share some time. Enjoy just kind of sitting in the brewery and chatting with other people. So cheers to the 2025 Beer All Time. I hope you enjoy, and thanks for listening. Cheers.